Mr. President had his first media chat. That media chat was supposed to be a media chat of consequence, at least for me. I was busy on a number of things, but when I saw the outcome, I felt demoralized because those who anchored the program should have known some things to insist and extract something very strong for Mr. President. And what is that? We are looking at reforms in Nigeria. And most of the reforms, you talk about the oil sector, the reform that was brought in, or called reform, which actually had no plan, has brought us to where we are. There's no denying that. The, what do you call it, deregulation or floating of the Naira further made matters worse. You go to the power sector, we are paying more with bonds that, that are something else. Which sector? Etiquette. For those that fly now, you must have about maybe half a million or almost 600,000 for you to be able to make a round trip, and which means you may never travel out until you have about 1 million naira. And here we are. So I want to say what happened that was called the media chat was not the best for the image of the administration. So Mr. President's handlers, please, anytime Mr. President should speak to the public, there must be something that gives hope. There must be something new that shows that Mr. President is a reformer. Nigeria needs a reformer now. And being a reformer, you must have policies and modes on how to achieve that. Because we are coming to the issue of having a reformer in a Ibom state. We're going to look at the kind of things he has said and the kind of things he has done, and then we'll be able to juxtapose that and push that out as our advocacy. So, sir, what was your take home from the Mr. President's maiden media chat almost 2 years into his administration?
Well, basically, some very remarkable issues have been raised. The first being the issue of the removal of subsidy. I don't think the removal of subsidy is bad, because no nation, also provides such magnitude of subsidy, particularly the oil sector.
But if I may chip in something there, was there a problem with subsidy payment or the corruption in the sector?
Both exist. But you see, corruption also exists in other nations. Now, what we observed was that we actually came out of a welfare system where there was a support after colonial rule for everybody. We did not pay water bills, we did not pay electricity bills, we did not even bother, about the cost of petrol, In other nations, you don't joke with such facilities because it also induces you to work
and be productive.
Very productive. And you become very conscious of your bills. You must pay your bills. I used to have my air conditioners on 24 hours. But today I cannot afford that because they gave me band A.
That reminds me, Mr. President said his friend that used to drive 5 Rolls Royce now drives a Honda.
Exactly. Because I was to pay about 32,000 naira a week.
Really?
Yeah, to enjoy air conditioning just in the house. And if I do the same for the office, coupled with fuel and orders for the cars,
it'd be impossible.
No, I will need subsidy myself.
But what's the real way forward? Do we have a roadmap? It's not just about dropping the term reform. Reform must have a plan. Do we seem to have a plan going, from where we are?
Well, apparently, there is a plan.
And what is that plan?
Yeah, because what they're looking at is, get the people to adjust. There are certain things we need to adjust to. Some understanding we must have that life cannot operate at that level.
And some people are dropping dead.
No, well, it is not unusual for some people because the scripture says that in the day of adversity, if you collapse, it means your strength was already very small.
My favorite, one of my favorite scriptures, yes.
Your strength was too small.
Was too small.
Yeah. The Nigerians are resilient people. We have capacity. I do believe that the sequence of these things introduced was the problem.
Yes.
I wouldn't support removal of subsidy, devaluation, currency adjustments, all at the same time. You know, it was too much burden to bear, coming out of some level of leveraging that we had enjoyed over the years. But they needed to be introduced.
But, you know, interestingly, we dealt with that issue here to the effect that Mr. President himself has what we in Open Forum call a master plan. His idea to Jonathan, when he removed subsidy in 2012, January 8, 2012, the master plan that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, as a question that I give, is something I'm going to send it to you, sir. Maybe I've sent it before, but I'm going to send it to you to look at, because there's no thinking outside of that. And there's nothing happening now that gives a clue that we are even on the way out. And trust politicians, they will keep on giving you hope. Don't worry, you adjust. And it is not happening. Coming out from the last administration that even the president then said, I'm not aware. When issues happen, I'm not aware. Now we have a man that is aware of everything, but his own plan, his own master plan is not being implemented. So I'm going to bring you into this, but just share your thought, because we're going to move to the topic and then the issue on the front burner, which is stock taking and agenda setting for an Akwa Ibom without oil, part 8. And the question is, what is wrong with our industrial sector? That's where we're going to soon. But on this master plan that Asiwaju gave the government of Jonathan in 2012, when I send it to you, but based on what I just said, what would be your thinking? Can't we have something that citizens can hold on to, say, okay, this is the master plan, this is where we are now, when we move here, this is where we're going to get to?
Well, you see, there are diverse factors that will contribute to your exit from the hole. you must look for a way to climb out of it.
Or dig in.
Yeah, we all are adjusting, we are changing methods, we are changing attitude, we're changing, responses to all the variables in life. So, if you used to drink a champagne for 180,000, you'll be looking for ways and means to adjust. What am I doing? That's the idea. You see, what the nation is looking at is, what will the future look like? Don't let us bother too much about ourselves. In 2 months, I'll be 70. So should I be bothering so much about myself? Not my grandchildren?
Yes.
Now, what are we bequeathing to that generation?
But how many people are thinking that direction?
Well,
that's the problem we have.
In any nation in the world, not many will reason like that. That's why not many come into leadership.
Do we even have leadership? Because
no, we have.
Our problem is the leadership. They have also owned. As what you said, so I think in Chatham House or so, that the problem in Nigeria is leadership.
No,
it's not even the citizens.
I appreciate that, but you come to the understanding that there is a French maxim and a Latin maxim. It says, "Nemo dat quod non habet."
And what does that?
That you cannot give what you don't have.
Well, that is...
You understand?
You've nailed it, sir.
The nation did not train leaders. Incidentally, we train hairdressers. You train carpenters.
Mechanics.
Yeah, mechanics. But we did not train leaders. And yet the leaders require a lot of skills.
Yeah.
Now, distinguishing a leader from a management or a manager is even a different subject entirely. Because the man you might have might just be a manager without the leadership skills.
The country did not train leaders.
No, we did not train leaders.
Please, wherever you are, note that if you're not taking anything home, you're going to take that, because if we have mechanics that service some very complex vehicles, and then we have people in offices who live very flamboyantly, and they carry themselves as leaders, and you discover that they are not even rulers. They are worse than rulers. So we have a challenge, and that is what Open Forum is trying to do. It is a burden, it is a passion, it is a calling